Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to Mathematics with Shahab Yaqub. So now earlier there was this question that I solved that was related to this function fx is 6 minus 4 cosine half x. That will be the previous video. So do have a look at that particular question, a very nice one. So now again we are focusing on this question from the topical book. This is question number 22. The first three parts are related with trigonometry purely. The fourth part, of course, that's part of functions as well as trigonometry. So now let's get started. This is from which particular year? This is Pure Maths P1, naturally. October, November 2010, variant 11, question number 7. Now there are four parts attached to it. First thing first, part number 1 and part number 3, they are related. You can either do part 1 first and then do part 3 or vice versa. So now over here we are using this concept of tangent and tangent between 0 and pi. So you can plug in some values and then work it out. Also you can see that there is this value is inclusive, this is not inclusive, this is exclusive. That means there is some asymptote over here. Now people find it easier to first work out part 3 in the case of tangent. First part 3 and then let's move to part 1. That is one thing that needs to be done. So now even before that, let's do the easy part. That is this one, state the exact value of this. So let me first work out part 2. F of 2/3 pi. So fx, that is 3 minus 2 tangent of half x. Now when x is 2/3 pi, if I plug in this value, this is 3 minus 2 tangent half of 2/3 pi. Half of 2/3 pi is pi by 3, and we know that tangent of pi by 3 is root 3. So this is tangent of pi by 3, that is equals to 3 minus 2 root 3, and just leave the answer in the exact form. Now always remember, let me put a note over here. So let me grab this page and let me write over here. When we are talking from the perspective of P1, when they use the word exact form, it means three things. The first one, writing the answer in fraction, that is the exact form. This is also applicable for S1, probability, permutation, combination, and so on. The second thing, when we read anything, when we write anything in the third form, that is exact. Does not necessarily have to be a square root. It could be a cube root also. It could be a fourth root also. Similarly, when we leave the answer in terms of pi, whether it is about trigonometry, radians equation, or circular measure, or later on we'll be using it for integration, volume of revolution, volume of solid formed. So we would be leaving the answer in terms of pi. So all these three formats are considered exact. There is no rounding off. Now let me move to part 1 and part 2. So this is part 1, the range. This is part 3. Part 2 is already done. So if I want to draw this, let me first write fx is negative 2 tangent half x plus 3. That is the proper order in which it has to be written. X lies between 0 inclusive, pi exclusive. Now remember, there was something that was taught in class about tangent. I was just trying to make a box, and that thing is this. Y is equals to tangent kx. The rule is 2k cycles in 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. Now what is the value of k over here? That is half. That's the coefficient of x. So 2 into half, that comes out to be 1. Therefore 1 cycle in 360 degrees, but we are just drawing till pi. We are just drawing till 180 degrees. So therefore this is half a cycle that needs to be drawn. That is the first thing. Now keep in mind, when we talk about tangent, the cycle could be like this, or it could be like this. I mean the different portions of the thing, or maybe it's drawn like this, and then there is a dotted line like this, and then we are drawing the other half. Let me grab this like this. So it depends on from where to where we are drawing. This is 3 minus 2 tangent half x. So now first of all, if we are drawing, let me just draw a rough figure. So let me add a page, or I can just work it out over here. So this is like half a cycle. There is an asymptote over here, but because of the -2, it will be flipped down. So again, the asymptote is over here and the graph would be like this. Now, because of the change in cycle, half cycle in 180, so now this is pi, this is 0. That is why pi was not inclusive. And in between the two is pi by 2. So at pi by 2, we should mark this value, which is -2. Got the idea? So we can also double check. So basically, let me first focus on y is equals to -2 tangent half x. Now remember this thing, tangent graph is not that easy. So half of pi by 2, if I plug in pi by 2, that is pi by 4. And we know that tangent of pi by 4 is 1 because of the -2. Yes, it's -2. So now this is the rough work that I'm doing so far. So now let's get started properly. So first of all, what do I need? I need a grid. And let me remove this thing over here. And let me draw this line like this. Let me draw it like this. And let me draw some dotted line over here. So let me draw this line like this. So that is the asymptote that I'm drawing. And you have to do it with a lot of passion, a lot of precision. That is the dotted line. Now, first of all, let me draw this thing like this. Okay. And let me just copy this thing. And let me paste it over here. And let me change the color to something bluish. Okay. So now this, or actually purple would be better. Okay, I'm just trying to get the hang of it. So the color is purple. That's good. So now what will happen is that you should mark some points. So this is pi, this is 0. Somewhere here is pi by 2. And this point serves as a help for us. This is -2. Now we are drawing fx. So fx is -2 tangent half x plus 3. This one is already drawn in red color. And the whole thing I'll be drawing in purple color. So let's move it 3 units up. So now this thing is not that exact. Let me try to make it a bit more exact because of that 2 thing. So now the stroke eraser, this thing, this thing, this thing. Let me remove this and let me mark over here -2. So it becomes more realistic. This is -2. And let me remove this thing. Let me draw this line like this. And something like this. Yes, very nice. So yes, you should congratulate yourself when you do something nice. So the red one, that is y is equals to -2 tangent half x. And the purple one will be y is equals to -2 tangent half x plus 3. Will be shifting it 3 units up. So now let me grab this thing, copy. Let me paste it over here and let me change the color to purple. Okay. And then now let's move it 3 units up. So when we move it 3 units up, what happens to the 0? The 0 will also be moving 3 units up. And of course, you should draw a graph with a pencil so that if you want to make any adjustment, that would be easier. So now I am labeling this 0 has been transferred to 3. This -2 has been transferred to 1. Again, it's not very exact. Of course, it's a sketch. The examiner will just have a feel for it. Something like this. So now this is over here. That is 1 over here, that point. And this is the final graph. This is y is equals to fx So that is the fx, and don't forget, which color should I use? Green color. So don't forget to draw this asymptote over here, and this asymptote, it occurs at pi. So this thing is pi. 0 is inclusive, pi is not inclusive. Now based upon this, so this is part 1, part 2, 3. This is part 3 that I have done. So based upon that, I can write the answer for part 1. So sketch and then find the range for tangent. This is the easier way out. Maximum value is 3. So the maximum value of the function is 3, and minimum value, it's going till negative infinity. So therefore, I can either write it like this: fx lies between 3 is inclusive and negative infinity. That's one way, no one reaches infinity. Or simply write this thing, the easy way: fx is less than or equal to 3. That is the easy way of writing it. Now let me just copy this thing and do the last part also. That is about this thing, which is the expression kind of thing. So now over here, obtain an expression for f inverse x. Now inverse only exists for a one-to-one function. Yes, it's a one-to-one function because it passes HLT, horizontal line test. Let y is equals to fx, therefore f inverse y equals to x. Y equals to 3 minus 2 tangent half x. So y minus 3 over negative 2, that is tangent of half x. Get rid of excessive negative sign like this. That is tangent of half x. Make half x the subject. So half x is tangent inverse 3, my bad, that is slipping, 3 minus y over 2. And x is equals to 2 tan inverse 3 minus y over 2. But what is x? X is f inverse y. X is f inverse y. Therefore, the very, very final answer, we have a habit of writing in terms of x. That is 2 tan inverse 3 minus x over 2. Now let's check all the answers. That is 7-mark question. That's the last part. That is the third and the first part. That was the rough work that we have done. That was the knowledge that we used. That was the answer in the exact form. So let's double check. That's right over here. Range is fx is less than or equal to 3. This is 3 minus 2 root 3. That would be the sketch, which unfortunately they did not drew initially, and nowadays they are doing it. And this is 2 tan inverse 3 minus x over 2. So give a star to yourself for understanding it so thoroughly. That is how the content is taught at Mathematics with Shahab Yaqub. Take care, everyone.